Hello and welcome to the voting panel. It's where we can actually talk about voting, our experiences, maybe some barriers that we might experience. I will go ahead and have the panelists just give a brief introduction. I will start with Sean.
Hi, I'm Sean Fulton, the current president of Self-Advocacy of Indiana.
Great, wonderful, Sean. I'm going to go ahead and go to Eric.
Hi, I'm Eric Smith. I'm representative of the board of the SI and the Governor's Council.
Wonderful. Melody. Yes, perfect.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Hi, I'm Melanie Cooper, and I am the past president of the Self-Advocacy of Indiana.
Wonderful to have you here.
Thank you for having
And
me.
then Megan, go ahead.
I am Megan Berger, Secretary of SAI, and it's great to see everybody here.
Wonderful. Well, I am so glad everybody was able to come and join this panel. I really appreciate it. I know that you guys are probably busy with all of your other responsibilities, but I appreciate you taking the time to be willing to join us and to talk about voting today. I'm going to go ahead and get started. We have some questions, and really we can just all answer. I might try to mediate, but if you want to raise your hand, you can answer, or if you want to go ahead and answer, you can. So I want to go ahead and start the discussion. We will talk about barriers to voting. As you know, a lot of people who have disabilities really struggle with the multiple barriers of voting. It could be communication access, it could be physical access, it could be maybe voter oppression. I mean, there are many things and many examples that you guys could name. I wanted to go ahead and ask you guys what your barriers to voting are. In the past, when you've gone to the polls, like what are some barriers that you guys might have experienced? Let's start with Eric. Eric, what are some barriers to voting that you might have experienced when you were voting?
Past of the voting places I went to, it's I see people in wheelchairs was hard to get into the buildings, and I thought maybe it should be in a different locations where people can get asked with wheelchairs to ask to get into the building. That's one thing I know was issue about, but since then maybe it was better. Now it's better.
Okay. No, that's a really good point. When you went to the voting poll, did you ask somebody about trying to resolve the issues so that you could help advocate for the person who might be in the wheelchair?
Yes, I did.
That's wonderful. That's really great. That's perfect. What about you, Melody?
I worked the polls for years, and I saw people that they come into the polling place to try to get in wheelchairs and walkers. In some places it was not handicap accessible of people, and it was really hard. So yeah, that was mine.
I want to maybe get a little bit more from your experience as a poll worker. Have you seen barriers such as maybe the machine wasn't accessible for people who had visual issues? Maybe they were blind, or maybe the voting machine was broken so it wasn't accessible. Have you seen any of that in your work?
Yeah, some of it when I did do when I did do poll work, I seen a lot of times where we would have sometimes we would have to start plan to start at 6 in the morning, And sometimes we didn't start till like 7 because we had to get someone out to kind of work on the machines. I think I've seen a couple people that are blind. It's kind of hard for them to do the machine too. Yeah.
So did you or another poll worker provide the blind or low vision person like any other options for ballots if the machine was down? Or did you guys have to wait in line to do that?
I can't remember, but I know they got the vote. I can't remember, but I know they voted. So I think we had an assessment and we allowed somebody to go in the voting booth with them.
Okay. Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, great. So Sean, I would love to hear from you, your experience, maybe addressing any barriers that you might have seen in the voting booth, or what you might be concerned about for this upcoming election.
Language barriers. That's probably one of the biggest ones. That's probably going to be in people in trouble of not being able to vote, not having people that can speak multiple languages, and maybe in some of the rural areas, transportation to go to vote, and probably access to accessible buildings.
Yeah, those are really important points. I want to go ahead and you said language barriers. I want to talk about that a little bit. So does that apply to individuals who might speak a second language, deaf people or hard of hearing, or people who might have some type of learning disability?
I would think it would be all of the above.
Okay, yeah, perfect. So with that being said, um, are there any like advice or strategies um, that maybe you could provide to the community to see how maybe they could overcome some obstacles that they might be facing in this year? I don't know if you had any advice or maybe some uh, tips or tricks. Megan?
Yes. That is true. We all do need our rights to vote. And if anybody needs any help, they can ask a staff person, or if they're living with their families, they can ask your parents to help.
That's right.
Thank you.
Yes. But understanding, knowing that your family or your staff person can't influence the decision that you're making, but they can help you access the voting process. These people who are facing issues at the voting booth, they have a contact person? They're able to contact the poll worker for assistance. They can contact Indiana Disability Rights. They could also contact the Secretary of State. There's a hotline, a phone number. If anybody's kind of facing any barriers, they can do any one of those three things. I want to talk about voting rights. So are you familiar with your voting rights? Like, you guys have the right to vote confidentially and independently. You have the right to assistance at the voting place as well. You have a right to choose to vote at home. I mean, there are multiple things like that in terms of like your rights to vote and your awareness of those rights. So if you are feeling maybe like your rights are being challenged or violated, you can go ahead and ask a poll worker, and you can let them know that you do have the right to vote in these situations independently and confidentiality, and you have the right to do it via absentee. So you can figure out how to resolve the problem with the poll worker. And if that doesn't work, then you have the right to contact the Indiana Disability Hotline. And we will do our best there to assist you to resolve the problem at the polling place. And if you're seeing someone else who is having any issues with voting or their rights are being violated, at any time you could try to advise them to go ahead and call in to the Indiana Disability Rights Hotline and ask for assistance. So I want to make sure that that valuable piece of information, you guys know that you guys have a right to vote. You guys have the right to do that. And if anybody discriminates against you based on your disability, or gives you a hard time, or tries to violate your right, you make sure that you know, and you tell them that you do know your rights and you have the right to vote. And you can call the Indiana Disability Rights hotline, and we can help you out. And then even if you are under guardianship, you are allowed to vote. So I want to make sure that you don't let your guardian affect your vote, because you have the right to make a decision, and you have the right to do that confidentiality and independently. So I'm curious to hear maybe Sean or Melody, if you guys have any other advice for people in the community, if they have any questions, or if their rights are being violated. Do you have any other advice to individuals, helping them overcome the barriers?
Mel?
I think just being able to vote, I think that's very important to people. A lot of people can't do that. A lot of people don't know how to do that. If you ask them, a lot of people have not ever been able to know what it's like to vote. But if you understand that it's very important, voting is very important to people. It should be important to anyone, whether you got a disability or not.
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly. I think it is essential that we continue to encourage people to vote, and we educate people about the voting process. Yes, it is so important people understand their rights to vote, the importance of voting, why it's important to vote in their communities, whether they have a disability or not, because voting is a way to make sure that we're living and we're able to forward our rights. So the next comment I want to make is I want to ask about your personal experiences voting. With you guys who have had experience voting, what are your expectations this year? Do you have a voting plan in place? Have you guys decided if you're voting from home, or if you're going to go to early voting, or are you going on election day? And anybody, it's open for anyone to answer.
Well, they sent mine in the mail about maybe 2 weeks ago, and I filled it out and put it back in the mail, so it should be at the city county building by now. So mine is done.
Great job. What about Eric and Megan and Sean?
Well, this is the first time I'll be voting in Indianapolis, so it's going to be a little different from the little town I came from. So it's going to be a little weird for me.
I'm going to be voting.
There's a long line at the city county building right now for early voting.
Off.
Yeah. So be prepared. Make sure that you dress warm, you bring some water, maybe a book
The
or
chair.
your phone as you're waiting in line. But it's really, there are many people showing up right now. My husband, actually, he just went to his polling location and he waited 2 hours to vote yesterday.
Oh my
So
God.
I told him, bring water. My best advice would be to dress for the weather and everything will work out.
I'm going to wait till election day to go out and vote. That's what I'm gonna do.
Ah, okay. So you'll be standing in line too. And then you know that if even if the polls are closed, do you know what, like at 6 o'clock when they close, if you're still in line, do you keep waiting or do you go home?
I'll be waiting in line if we're still in line by the polls closed. They're gonna let us vote no matter what.
Yeah,
That's
they will.
right. If you are in line, make sure that you continue to stay in line. Even if it's 6 o'clock and the polls say that they're closed, they are required to let you in to vote. Yes, good answer. Megan, do you want to comment or tell us how you're going to vote, your plans
Yes.
for voting
Well,
this year?
yes, I am planning on going before the election to vote.
Ah, that's great. Um, Now, are you driving yourself or will you be taking the bus or is somebody taking you?
My parents will be taking me.
Ah, wonderful. And what about everyone else? How are you guys getting to your location? Are you going to drive yourself or will somebody be going with you?
Well, for me, I'll be going before I go into work, which is downtown.
Ah, sounds like a good plan. Eric?
I'm going with my dad.
Okay, sounds good. Um, because you guys have plans and have set up a way that you guys are voting and how you're going to get there, I wanted to ask why you guys feel that it's important to vote. And anyone can answer that. Why do you guys think it's important to vote? Why do you believe it's important to vote?
So your voice can be heard and knowing that you might be able to make a difference.
Yeah, that's a great answer.
The reason why everybody should vote, because we need to be cautious on how we vote and who we're voting for. Because it's one of our rights.
Mm-hmm.
And our
Yes.
rights do mean a lot, because at least we have support for people who can help us and to help other people too. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's a wonderful answer. Perfect. Yes, a beautiful answer. Sean or Eric, why do you guys vote? Why is it important for you guys to vote?
I vote because we need change, and hopefully, by doing your homework and getting the information on the people you're going to vote for will help when you go to the polls and vote. So that way, you know who the right person to vote for.
That is a wonderful answer. Eric?
When I want to go, because vote, because you want to hear people are not the ones you vote for need to hear what you're voting, and you just want to spread out the words to all the people you vote for, because you never know what's going to happen. This country is going to be changed. It's changing, big change, and you want to go out there and vote and try and make it better.
Yeah, no, that's a good answer as well. I agree. Voting, hopefully, policies change and then eventually other things change and they do it for the better. And in relation to that, how to improve things, that leads us to our next question. When you guys show up to vote, thinking about your communities, your support communities, and how can voting affect your communities? Like, for example, are there programs that you want funding for, or are there persons that support your needs, or would you like better Medicaid waiver options, or are there other things? I was just curious to see if you guys had any thoughts or opinions on like how voting can affect your community.
It's just me. I think it can affect you in a lot of ways. More ways than you could ever know. I think like I said before, we all got this voice, and if we don't use it, then it won't get heard.
Yeah. Sean or Eric or Megan?
I think just anything with people with disabilities, it depends on who is running and who gets voted in. If they are for people with disabilities or against people with disabilities.
Yeah, that makes sense. You want to choose people who are willing to advocate for your communities. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Eric?
I want people. If we vote people who wants to or going to be in, have to help the people with disabilities on stuff, because it's just crazy right now, and it's like people with disabilities don't know what's going to happen and all that stuff, and that people need to help with people with disability. That's what it is.
I agree with Eric and Sean about the issues that are going on in the world. Thank you.
Yes,
And thank you again.
100%. Yeah, and I think that with voting, you can advocate, you can support for your community, you can, gain traction for policies that help and better the lives of people in your communities. I have a last question. I know that the disability community right now is kind of unsure about, everything that's happening because there's so much misinformation and there's a lot of confusion and a lot of, unsurety about what's happening in the next 4 years. So what would some positive or optimistic advice you would give to the community to let them know? What would be something that you would want to say?
I would tell them just to do their research on who they want to vote for, and, well, just on all of the candidates, so that way they know if the people that they're looking up is the ones that they really want to vote for.
I think I would
Yeah.
say mainly the same thing. Just know who. I mean, there's so much so many papers coming out on candidates. Candidates are talking. Candidates are asking questions. And want answers. I mean, maybe kind of just watch the news. Cause the news, I mean, you see all these candidates and things on TV talking about what they will do, what they won't do, what they can do. That's a big step for all of us.
Yeah, definitely. Great answer.
I agree.
Megan?
Thank you. I agree with Melody on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eric?
Um,
Any positive advice or comments?
Mine is like it's like go out and go out committee and spread out the words like, hey, vote for these. If you look at these candidates, if you see what they like, just choose them. If you don't, just if you want to choose somebody else, go ahead and just have to look at the research of them because you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
We have one more.
Wonderful. Okay, Megan?
I
Sure.
agree with Eric. It is to help to get advice from people and to know what's out there for them and to think about what's going on in the world
Mm-hmm.
and vote for the right people who can help a cause for people with disabilities because we do need to have a voice. We do need to be heard. And it's important because we can help so many people who have disabilities or not. And I agree with the interpreter because there are a lot of stuff on TV that's showing a lot of sorry,
Take your time.
chaos because there's a lot of chaos and we need to be sure that we can have the right to vote for someone who can help people with disabilities and other people who are not, who don't have a disability. Thank you.
Megan, your answer was very powerful. I think what you're saying is that there is hope in voting, right? So the election process and the voting tells people that we want change, right? We want to make things better. These are the things that are important to us. And the voting process is another form of self-advocacy. So awareness, and the disability community right now is disgruntled seeing so much happening. And a lot of people might think, okay, well, why is it even worth it for me to vote? Well, it's worth it because you shouldn't be distracted from the reason that we are voting in the first place, is to have our voices being heard. Because we want our community to have the best quality of life. We want to thrive. We want to have programs and services and abilities and resources. So there is no hope lost. And I think the voting process shows us that we continually have hope and that we together can overcome any barriers. And so,
Mm-hmm.
with
That
that, I will just kind of wrap up this discussion. But thank you so much for the time that you guys took to come and to talk with me about voting. I think all of your answers were invaluable and very powerful. And hopefully, people in the disability community feel very empowered by your discussion today. So thank you.
Thank you.
Happy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.